All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Abigail. I'm going to be taking the first half of today's analysis, which is going to be on commodity currency pairs, after which my colleague will come on board and do his analysis on indices, US 30 and 100, and an extra pair or any other pair he'll be looking at today. So we're starting off our analysis on the AUD-USD asset class. As at our last analysis, the last time we looked at this pair together, we had said that we're looking at AUD-USD buying, right? And we drew out certain level points that we wanted AUD-USD to buy into. And you can see that was a retracement trade though. And price has bought ever since then up to this point. But let's do a fresh analysis, shall we? So we're looking at AUD-USD on the weekly time frame now. And the first thing I want to do is to basically predict trend. The predominant trend on this structure right now is a downtrend. So and I'm only looking or interested in taking sell opportunities. Looking at the daily time frame now for more confirmation, you can see that structure is still respecting the downward movement and price has now traded into an imbalance for it to continue to either continue its downward movement or maybe validate the zone and continue higher. But for now, so far, our stronger probability setup is to the downside. On the 4-hour time frame, now we're looking at the zones that we marked out during our last session. And these were them. The first was right here inside this liquidity point. The second was all the way in here. And then we had the third one, which was the IOF ED setup that we have right here, expecting price to, either trade into the zone, find resistance, or into any of the other zones above. And lo and behold, price has traded into our first point of interest, and we are already seeing rejections from that level. So having this in mind and looking at the 1-hour time frame, can now see that price has given us what we like to see as a confirmation, which is basically a base that has been printed right here. I'm going to go ahead and mark that out, and then a continuation candle. So now that I've seen this continuation candle on the 1-hour time frame, I'm going to be looking for one extra confirmation on 5 minutes, which is what I call the bearish variation pattern. I want to see a bearish variation pattern below this candle first, before I now eventually take my first setup for the AUD-USD sell. Based on what we're seeing here, though, that has not been printed. Now, I know that some of us are most likely wondering what the bearish variation pattern typically looks like. This is what I want to see before I am comfortable taking a sell-off of AUD-USD. 1, 2, 3, right? Once I see a candlestick or 3 candlestick formations like this on the 5-minute time frame, I am going to pop in for the AUD-USD sell-off. So as a recap, our predominant structure, our predominant trend is the downside, and we're expecting price to give us this final confirmation on the 5 minutes to continue to sell AUD-USD. It brought back into all of the zones that we mapped out as at our last analysis, and we're starting to see reactions downward. Okay, sorry about that. So the next asset class we're looking at now is NZD-USD, and we're going to start from the weekly time frame again. So predominant structure on this asset class is also to the downside, although price has now triggered into a support zone, right? Which is what we saw last during our last contact time. Price already did all of that, and it has traded into an imbalance that would see clearer on lower time frames like the daily or even the 4-hour time frame. So same thing, very similar to what we did on AUD-USD is what we had done on NZD-USD as well, marked out certain level points that wanted to see which one would hold and where NZD-USD was going to find resistance from. We did all of the buy reversals, right? Okay, so you can see that here price found the current resistance is at our second point of interest. I'm still going to go ahead and mark out the third POI, which is this IOF ED that we have right here. So price has now traded into our second point of interest. We need to see a confirmation to know if that level is going to hold. And yes, so we have a base pattern that has been printed as well, and a continuation candle, although it has not closed yet. I'm going to go ahead and mark that out. So price has now traded below this second candlestick. What I now want to see is the confirmation entry, which is my bearish variation pattern, and I'm going to be looking for sell opportunities. If that bearish variation pattern is not formed, then I will not have that extra confidence to take this sell. So that is what I need to be sure that this sell, to be more confident to give it an attempt to sell this particular asset class. Okay, so yes, NZD-USD, buy reversals has happened, AUD-USD, the buy reversals has also happened just like we predicted, and it has now traded into our point of interest. So we are now waiting for confirmations to see if these levels will truly hold, and once those confirmations are printed, we're going to be taking our attention to sell on NZD-USD and AUD-USD. So final asset class we're looking at is now USD CAD. So USD CAD weekly time frame phenomenal structure is to the upside. Major structure is still very much in play, and until we see these structure points taken out on this time frame, before we now start to say, okay, maybe structure wants to change, right? So major structure is still very much in play. All of these moves between it are minor structures, although we also have another low right here that price happens to have taken out. But regardless, this is not even give us a higher high, so it doesn't count. So I'm now watching to see, I think USD CAD is going to sell off all the way into the zone. There is a previous resistance level here that could act as future support. So I still see more downward momentum for USD CAD on the weekly time frame. On the daily time frame now, what do we see? So predominant structure, or rather minor structure, consecutively still being formed to the downside. Price is most likely going straight into that zone, right? Before it continues or starts to give us another bias. So based on what I'm seeing here, what do I think USD CAD is going to do? We have a new structure point that was printed here, and we're starting to see pullbacks. So is it possible that we're going to see something like this on USD CAD, or where price currently is all the way into the zone, maybe even the 38.2, because we have another liquidity zone that is residing around this one. But if it doesn't, then it's going to trade into the 50% fib level, extra confluence right at this zone, and then we're going to see a sell-off of USD CAD. So where's the most likely area where USD CAD is going to sell into? Remember that I pointed out a particular level that I think USD CAD is going to sell before you find support somewhere around here, right? So is it going to sell all the way back into the zone first? We're going to be watching. But right now, I'm expecting temporary retracement on this asset class. It's already showing signs. So if it doesn't get all the way to 50%, it's going to trade into these liquidity points that we have here and continue selling. So I'm looking at 1 hour time frame now. And on the 1 hour time frame, the structure points that we drew out on the 4 hour is still very much valid, right? So yes, I'm still expecting this to happen. And it's not looking more like the 38.2% level is what is going to hold. Regardless, we're going to be watching it. We're looking to sell high, right? If we want to take this sell opportunity, we're looking to sell high. So I'll be more comfortable if price eventually retraces back into the 50% Fibonacci level before we start to look for sell opportunities of this asset class. As of right now, though, it has not given us signal for us to take any active trade. We just have an overall bias. So I'm expecting a temporary retracement back into the zone and a final lap downward. But we'll be watching. We'll be watching. That's why we have all of those other confirmations that we use in our analysis. So for the sake of those of us who are just joining us, we looked at AUD/USD, NZD/USD, and USD CAD, and our bias on AUD and NU currently is a sell, provided our confirmation entry is met. And for USD CAD, I'm expecting temporal buys into the zone, and then we can now continue the sell-off. So let's look at Forex Factory. Do we have any news release coming out today? So today is the 10th of April, and we have CPI coming out on the dollar by 130, CPI month-on-month, CPI year-on-year, and then unemployment claims. These are all high impact news that we're going to be watching out for. And depending on how this comes out, it's going to for sure affect these asset classes that we're looking out for. So we're going to keep our eyes on this. So trade carefully today, moving into CPI. And then for Forex performance, looking at the asset classes that are currently leading on the weekly time frame, you see the value is still moving into risk currencies. We still have AUD, NZD, and CAD still buying. On the daily time frame, what do we see? We're going to wait for that to load up so we can have real-time data. Perfect. So the yen is currently leading on a daily time frame. I can see that Aussie, the CAD are currently losing value. AUD is currently the weakest. CAD is also pretty weak. And we're now seeing NZD somewhere around here. So if AUD is weak, then you're seeing that our sell bias is even showing more signs that it may hold. But we're going to be watching out for CPI coming out later. It should give us more insights to what would happen, right? So yes, just trade carefully moving into today's news and use proper risk management in any trading decision that you make. Okay, so we're going to move into the second part of this analysis in less than a minute. Please do not go anywhere as we'll be taking a very short break. But before then, kindly share this link with one or two persons you know would benefit from this analysis that we do on a daily basis for absolutely no fee, right? Share it to somebody, share it to a group, and let's have more people on board before we go into the second half that will cover indices and a little bit on fundamentals. With that being said, thank you so much for listening. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. Cheers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the second part of this market color session. How are we doing today? Today, we'll be looking at the indices markets, as the S&P 500, the US 30, and also the NASDAQ, right? Looking at how this market is behaving, right? And looking at the possibilities in the market. So far, so good. All right, we've seen a lot of drama happen within the last couple of days in terms of the market behaving in a kind of way, being very reactive to what is happening currently across, United States and some other countries. That's China and United States, China, EU, Vietnam, and some other countries of the world. Looking at how they've been reactive in terms of the tariff game that all of them have been playing with themselves, right? We'll be looking this morning at some fundamentals and seeing how they align together. With that, I'll be sharing my screen and then we'll make sense of the analysis. So far, so good. Right, so far, so good. I believe you can see my screen. So far, so good. The market, we saw a rally between yesterday and today. We saw a beautiful rally across board for US 30, NAS 100, and also S&P 500, right? Which is also very obvious because of what we had before now. The conversation we've had before now was suggestive of this rally, right? So one of the many things that have happened is, let's just do like a mini recap of what happened yesterday in the market, and that will help us to, make sense of it. All right, thank you. We're back. All right, one of the things that happened that was yesterday was we saw that China, right? We've been expecting it. The new tariff that Donald Trump slammed on the Chinese government as at Tuesday was around 50%, right? That we also spoke about on this market follow, and we said we're waiting for retaliations, right? We're waiting for retaliation because that will also determine whether we are buying or selling what's it called? US equities, US indices, right? And we saw that happen, right? China came with their own retaliation and gave United States another 84%, right? In total of the tariff on US goods. That was 84%. And definitely Donald Trump is an interesting president. He will always never settle for no or settle for less, right? And he came on board also with his own, tariff on China with 125% increase, right? Total accumulation of what? The tariff on Chinese goods, 125%. That is some wild number, right? In response to 85% or 84% that was given to United States. So it's a yin yang, something that is currently happening with them. Why that is happening on the side? Why? Interestingly, we're supposed to see the market sell off, but then something interesting happened, and we are seeing the market rally to the upside, which is there's a 90-day pause on tariff, right? So from the White House, there's a 90 days pause. So till 90 days, about 3 months, right? So till the end of Q2, we don't expect to see any major that's been authorized already, right? We don't expect to see any tariff play again till probably July or so, thereabout, for us to start seeing that again. And that, not only that, he dropped all tariff to 10% except for China, right? Of course, that's a disrespect to the United States. They gave you 50%, you went as high as 84, and then it came back to 125. They're still battling their own. But investors are really, really excited about that. And then we saw a surge right, across US 30, across NAS 100, and across S&P 500. Guys, it's an interesting play in this market. It has been really interesting because we are seeing toward global power fighting for their own interest, right? Nobody is right or wrong here. Everybody is fighting for their betterment of the economy. I believe even the one that was given to Nigeria now, it's less than 10%. We're given 14 before, but thank God, all the affected countries, including even European Union, right? Their own was dropped to 10%. And why is that? Because they didn't retaliate, right? The way China did with their own. All right. So looking at this fundamental playing out recently, between yesterday and today, right? What is that telling us? We might want to start looking for buys across board for US indices, right? For S&P 500, NASDAQ, and also what? And also US 30 Dow Jones. We're expecting some bullish run to the upside because, the major factor that has been leading to a sell-off has been the tariff, right? And now tariff is currently on a 90-day pause. We should expect some rally to the upside because that will also boost investor confidence again back in US stocks, right? And then we'll see some sell-off from gold, right? Some sell-off from some safe haven asset, not 100, but then probably 70, 80%, or even 50% sell-off. But gradually we start seeing that value flow back from precious metal, which are safe haven assets, into the US equities again, right? That being said, let's look at technical because I believe many people love technical analysis. That we are looking at a sell-off at the beginning of this week, that's on Tuesday, right, for the analysis that we did. And on Dow Jones, we had some area marked out for a sell, but currently our bias needs to change to what is happening in the market, right? So we expect that market is for a sell, which was this, marked at this level. And we said that we start selling if the war, it's a war, kind of trade war continue, right? But now trade war is currently on a hold. Everything is back. It's beginning to go back to normalcy, right? And if that's the case, we don't expect that sell-off again. We expect what to the upside. We expect the market buying to the upside, right? And if the market is going to buy, what are we looking for? We're looking for break of structure to the upside for us to continue taking sides with what is currently happening. So on the daily time frame, there's not been a change of structure, but look at the 4-hour time frame. There's now like a change of structure, right, to the upside. However, we are still in a very bearish, environment. But then we should be mindful of what is happening, right? Structure plays a lesser role here. We're just using structure to time the market. The main big driver of this particular market as of 2025 is fundamental, right? In fact, Truth Social will do you more good than Fibonacci extension and other block as we speak in this market. Currently in this market, find a way of getting on social, right? And follow Donald Trump, see what he's saying on that app, and then that will help you on your chart. I might not necessarily save you, right? So let's look at what the market has done. So far, we saw a breakout block. And this is the beautiful thing about market structure, right? This is the beautiful thing about trading itself. Typically, this other block should hold, right? This other block that was violated. But because the market, as we currently speak, especially this market, right, is strongly tied to whatever is happening in the US economy, right? So we saw it being violated without any, retest or any form of, testing the other block before it now finally validates. It's one single candle, 4 hours candle violating a 4-hour other block, right? So we should mark out this level in terms of price reacting up from this area again. It's like a change of structure, and then price is bound to come and retest, right? That's one thing I'm looking at. Price is bound to come and retest this breaker block, and then probably we'll start seeing a buy to the upside. While we are looking at that, there's also a fair value gap above, right? There's a fair value gap above this level, the first one here and the second one here, right? By the time we measure 50% of the fair value gap, we should see something really significant. 50% of the fair value gap is somewhere around here. So price might come back to react on 50% of this fair value gap, right? Let me delete this Fibonacci. So price might come back to retest this 50% fair value gap. And of course, this will have as most likely inducement. By the time we go to the 1 hour time frame, we're going to see some levels also to start buying from. But then I really want to think this is good. I believe you can hear me and you can see me. Okay, please let me know in the comment section if you can hear me. I don't know if my mic is on or it's from our end. One person should just help me confirm. All right, thank you. All right, so as I was saying, right, we should expect like a tap, and this is based on the fundamental, following what the fundamental is saying, right? We're looking for buys to the upside, right? And that being said, I'll be waiting strongly for the markets to, come to these levels, and then can start expecting a buy to the upside, right? Typically, we shouldn't see anything dramatic for the next 1 month, right? With the news and the fundamental which we got yesterday, as of even this morning, we shouldn't see anything very dramatic, and that also indicates that we should start looking for a rally to the upside. Seasonality chart also is suggestive that US 30 is going to rally between this period and the ending of May, right? Towards the ending of May, we should see a rally across board. But then, drivers of the market now currently is the US president, right? That being said, let's move to the 1 hour time frame and see what 1 hour is doing. Okay, presently price is interesting. Price is reacting off this other block. I want to believe strongly that it's going to violate it. I really want to believe that price is going to violate this other block to the downside. And then we see some reaction from this breaker block here, right? This breaker block is very obvious. This is another breaker block in our 4 hour breaker block. So I think I really want to believe that this level is strong. This level is so strong. Price violated it on the 1 hour time frame, on the 4 hour time frame. This should serve as an inducement for price to come and start, moving to the upside from here. So I'm looking at something like this. A safe entry will be, or a big SL would be somewhere something like this, and then probably 1:3 price to continue its movement. There's a box pattern strategy somewhere around here, so probably a safe place to force for exit to be here, like 1:3. But then a tighter one will be this, just below this fair value gap. So this would be like a tight SL. But then we'll be looking at what the market is going to do. Not even this, somewhere around this. Tight SL, right? But I'll be watching how market is going to react from this zone. I'm going to the 5-minute time frame to look for box pattern for a buy, box pattern to the upside. That will also give me that confidence to take on this market and analyze and engage the market, right? So moving on, we'll be looking at the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. Let's look at Nasdaq first. All of them, they have similar analysis, right? Because their play was so related, right? So related. So on the daily time frame, also we saw markets reacting off from this other block, right? Selling off. Of course, price, the news yesterday triggered this bullish move. This is the greatest that's been seen since 2001, right? Greatest surge back to the market over 2,900 points, if I'm not wrong. And so it's a beautiful day for the US market, but then we'll keep looking for opportunities in the market. Also, we have this 4 hours other breaker block, that was violated, right? So we expect that price is going to come. The same thing we have on US 30, almost the same thing, right? They are closely correlated in this period. So if you miss out on one, you can just quickly look at the second one, or look at what S&P 500 US 30 is doing to take trade on US 100. That's Nasdaq. Or look at what is happening on US 30, Nasdaq, to take trade on S&P 500, right? And of course, if you want to split your risks across board, you can take trade, the same position, the same amount of trade, probably 3%, but then now it's 1% across board. And because one is going to definitely lead the movement to start pushing to the upside very faster than the rest. All right, that being said, we have 50% also lying somewhere around here. So I strongly believe if we see price push to the downside, we should see a retest on this breaker block for us to start pushing to the upside again. And we have a long way to go. 90 days is a long period of time. So I expect typically that we would recover all of this sell-off that we've had, right? We should recover. We see that recovery happen so fast and speedily, right? On the daily time frame, not to neglect some things on the daily time frame. You can see that there's an order block here. There's a possibility, high chance that price might still come back to this zone, but then it's looking a bit dicey because what we have on US 30 is suggestive that the move has started already, right? However, let me put on US 30. Okay. All right. So what we have on US 30 is also looking almost the same on the 4-hour time frame. Let me look at 4-hour time frame. Yeah, this is what is making me. We've seen a retest on this order block, and then price pushing to the upside, violating this breaker block, and expect price to come back again. On US 100, almost the same thing happening. Almost the same thing happening. So just so we are clear, I'm expecting a buy of the zone. I'm expecting a buy of the zone, and with the fundamental backing it up, we should see a strong push to the upside, right? Now, you can scale down to the M5 or M15 time frame to look for box pattern, right? Box pattern, that will give you a more tighter entry, and from there, you can even get more rewarding rates to reward, right? Like you can get 1 is 10, 1 is 15, right? So by the time you refine on the M5 and M15 time frame, you should get that tight stop loss. The same thing is happening across board with S&P 500. All of them, they are highly correlated. In fact, I think 90 to 95% correlation as we speak across board for both US 30, NAS 100 and S&P 500. The same analysis applies on board with them. One thing I'll be watching out for also is to just see what the fundamental is saying, right? So that I'm not caught off guard, right? Whatever is happening, or especially on Truth Social, right? Follow Donald Trump on Truth Social. That will help you a lot, right? Also follow me on X, right? So that you can get first-hand information as it's coming, it's dropping it in the market, and we'll see that reaction almost immediately. The rally that we saw, that was on Monday, right? Is it Monday now? Yes. Monday was as a rumor of 90 days pause, right? This rally was as a rumor of this same 90 days pause that gave us momentum push to the upside. But this one came as from a billionaire, that's Bill Ackman, right? The rumor came from, not a rumor, he said it, but people took it as Donald Trump saying it. And then we saw a push to the upside. And then after they discovered it wasn't Donald Trump, it was just another billionaire giving his opinion. We saw that sell-off. Now Donald Trump now he authorized the 90 days, and we saw that push, right, to the upside. So this is the situation of the market now. I believe we found this helpful. And of course, if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. It's a good time to ask a question so that we can look at the question and then find ways to give answers. Do we have any question regarding the analysis so far? Do we have any question? Was it helpful in any way? Ayuba, Mr. Johnson, Lewis, Mangot. Good morning. How you doing? Markets Vision 25, Martins, Misunderstood, Nicholas, Said Bolaji, was helpful? Okay, let me see, very helpful. Thank you so much. So we'll be wrapping up this session, and we'll be coming back again by 2 p.m. for our New York market follow, where we'll be looking at what the market is doing. Is there any change to the analysis we've done this morning? Is there any changes whatsoever? And then from there, we can, update our analysis and continue. All right, that being said, thank you so much for joining. We will convey again by 2. Ensure, okay, GBP card you posted on Telegram, is it still valid? All right, you can just send a message on that Telegram platform, right? Tag the GBP card analysis, and of course, somebody from the team is going to get back to you and see the validity of that trade setup, right? I don't know how long that's been, but then I believe Once you target, we'll look into it and see if it's valid. All right, thank you so much, guys. Ensure you use proper risk management. If you don't have analysis this period, please don't be tempted to take any trade, right? Use proper risk management so that you don't, blow your account. All right. Thank you so much for joining. We'll meet again by 2.